One thing that never fails to surprise me is just how many kids' TV shows in the 80s and in particular the 90s had a shoehorned in Christmas special. I don't have a problem with this, mind. They can be a great source of awkward comic relief, as the likes of The Simpsons, Yogi Bear and many other beloved children's classics tried to cram Santa into their show ham-fistedly. And if they really want to go the whole hog, they'll occasionally name drop Jesus too, because 'tis the season. But one thing that never ceases to annoy me are those TV shows and franchises that think they can get away with shooting a Christmas special on the cheap and then releasing it via VHS only for a massive markup that would be about the same price as buying a tape with 3 or 4 episodes of the regular series on. A couple of years ago now, I spoke about We Wish You a Turtles Christmas, a terrifically hollow attempt to sell a 26-minute long live-action Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle Christmas special for full retail, featuring terrible costumes, no plot, awful songs that somehow have an earworm quality that will slowly drive you insane. It had a limited budget for locations, meaning the majority of the tape was set in one location. I greatly disliked that special. I considered it a bit of a cursed object, because once watched you will never forget it. Well, not one to be outdone, about 12 months later I found 1994's Alpha's Magical Christmas, the official Mighty Morphing Power Rangers Christmas special. 23 minutes of fun, only available on VHS. For those of you who either weren't alive in the 90s or spent the majority of it raving your balls off, the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers was a kids' TV series which ran from 1993 to 1996 in its first incarnation. And for the time, it was the TV show of the day. It was everywhere. There were lunchboxes, stickers, toys, weaponry. If you were a kid and you weren't into Power Rangers, my god, you were an outcast. Seriously, in the days of pre-Pokemon mania, the Power Rangers were arguably one of the hottest kids' properties since Star Wars. It can't be stressed enough just how huge this show was for the time. Originally based on a Japanese show called Super Sentai, the plot of the Power Rangers is a bit quirky but otherwise pretty standard. 2 astronauts while on a spacewalk find a hatch on the moon's surface. They open the hatch and inadvertently release an alien witch queen called Rita Repulsa and her evil alien servants. They've spent 10,000 years in imprisonment and are eager to get back into the business of causing mischief, so they decide to conquer the closest planet they can, which turns out to be Earth. The release of Rita triggers the resurrection of Zordon, a sage who 10,000 years prior was one of the people responsible for locking Rita up in the first place. Zordon is a big floaty head in a jar, so he's limited by what he can do. So he creates a robot called Alpha 5, Alpha for short, who helps maintain his secret headquarters and keep an eye on the evils of the world. With Rita now released, Zordon instructs Alpha to find 5 teens with attitude to summon to the HQ. The teens are all found in the fictional town of Angel Grove, California, and once summoned, they're granted the power of the Power Rangers, Earth's mightiest defenders. They're given a cool suit which gives them enhanced abilities, a cool signature weapon, and a giant robot that can be used both solo and as a combined super giant robot called a Megazord. And over 155 episodes that made up its first run, each episode could roughly be summed up as: one of the Power Rangers has a teen problem, Rita summons a monster that's slightly related to that Ranger's problem, they beat the little monster quite easily, Rita makes the little monster giant, they fight the giant monster with the Megazord, the troubled Ranger overcomes their teen issue. I mean, later seasons would do a little bit more than that, but in this run, yeah, it's about as simple as that. But hey, kids in the 90s loved that shit. I'm not here to judge. Alpha's Magical Christmas has a runtime very similar to an average episode of the Power Rangers. At first I thought it might have been a promotional tape, something like buy this Megazord action figure playset and get a free VHS with a never before seen episode of the Power Rangers on it. To try and snipe a few extra Christmas sales. But no. This was a full retail tape, which is just crazy given both how long it is and what the episode is actually made up of. So Alpha's Magical Christmas takes place around halfway through Season 2 of the original 3-season run, and it's Christmas time, and Alpha is horrifically upset. The Power Rangers are out at the North Pole helping Santa prepare all the presents ready in time for his big worldwide trip, and Alpha's been left alone on Christmas Eve. Zordon tries to cheer Alpha up by decorating the HQ with Christmas stuff, and then well, there's no better way to put this really. He kidnaps a load of kids from around the world so Alpha has playmates to keep them happy at Christmas. The rest of the special is Alpha and these kids singing Christmas carols while they do menial work, making paper chains, decorating Christmas cookies and trimming the Christmas tree. They do all of this and then they're unceremoniously sent home without even getting to meet the Power Rangers. Then about a minute off the end of the special, 3 of the Power Rangers turn up, wish Alpha and everyone at home a Merry Christmas, then Zordon makes it snow, and that's it. That's the whole special summed up in way more detail than I actually think is really even necessary. Right out of the gate, there's no Rita, no evil aliens, no Megazords, no teenage bullies, no locations or set work beyond a day's shoot in the Power Rangers HQ set, and a lot of stock footage is used. The visual effects are lousy and equate to nothing more than crossfades or sparkly effects, and the biggest issue out of all of this, only 3 of the 6 actors to play the Power Rangers at this point ever turn up on set, and they only do so for the final minute of the special, and here's the kicker, when they turn up they more or less immediately tell Alpha they've got to go, which is just awful, that poor little robot. The script is just one issue after another, chiefly among them is how shat on Alpha is through this whole special. Bear this in mind, Alpha got presents for everyone. It made gifts for the kids who helped decorate the HQ, it made gifts for the Power Rangers, it runs the day-to-day life support of Zordon. All they wanted for Christmas was to spend some time with their best buddies, the Power Rangers. And what does Alpha get for Christmas after putting in round-the-clock care and love to everyone? The kids give it love. Zordon wishes it a Merry Christmas. And half the Power Rangers turn up for literally a minute to give him the gift of love and friendship and then they piss off. Half of the Power Rangers couldn't even be asked to turn up in person to wish the robot who's literally equipped them to fight alien terrors a Merry Christmas. That's how unloved Alpha is. I mean, even I try to drop in on my relatives for at least 2 minutes every year. This is just such a terribly depressing Christmas special. I mean, they could have at least clubbed together and bought them a can of WD-40 or something. Anything is better than the less than bare minimum they actually do here. The main plot staggers from the annoying to the worrying. Zordon kidnaps kids in the middle of the night because Alpha has a SAD is particularly troublesome, but about 18 minutes of this 23-minute short is pretty much filled with singing public domain Christmas songs. That's 18 minutes of hearing a high-pitched, annoying robot with a load of out-of-tune kids bellow out "We wish you a Merry Christmas," and I can already hear the mothers and fathers of those kids who had this tape reaching for the extra-strength eggnog. Seriously, robots singing anything should be strictly limited to the electro genre and the Moog Kookbook. While I can say that this isn't as annoying as We Wish You a Turtle's Christmas, in the sense that you don't have completely out-of-tune pizza-based adaptations of Christmas classics, this film's issue is that they just aren't good or bad enough to really get any reaction out of me. They're really quite boring, with just a tinge of irritating offsetting complete ambivalence. If you're a hardcore Power Rangers fan, this would be something you'd maybe watch once as part of a marathon or just go into to get it over with. So Lord knows how families in the 90s coped with this thing on a loop 24/7 while little Billy ran around the room with his morpher. The dialogue's alright, it's not the tightest in the world but it does the job. There's nothing egregious here, but then there isn't a whole lot of dialogue full stop. As I say, most of it's singing. So if they'd failed here, I'd have been really quite impressed. What I can say is that unlike Turtles Christmas, this film did have the benefit of having all the original costumes, sets and cast more or less available to shoot the special. This was clearly done on the down low as a way for actors to make a quick extra paycheck and the producers to squeeze a few extra dollars out of parents at Christmas, but at least the Power Rangers look like the Power Rangers. At least they use the actual Power Rangers HQ. In that sense, it looks a little bit more professional than Turtles Christmas. But that's predominantly because its goals are so low on what it set out to do that if it had failed, I'd have really been quite impressed. The problems don't just end at the scripting though. For a starters, barring the Christmas tunes, this short's soundtrack pinches almost all its incidental music from the main show. There's nothing new here, and the continuity errors are gaping and obvious. From things like the command center establishing shots going from having no Christmas decorations on the outside to being fully decked, Tommy appearing as the White Ranger in some shots and the Green Ranger in others, a major plot point of Season 2 being that the Green Ranger is effectively killed off and brought back as the White Ranger, so the Green Ranger literally can't be in some of these shots. Zordon saying it's snowy and cold outside. The kids who were teleported into the command headquarters, decorating a Christmas tree that was clearly already decorated in the command centre moments before they arrived, and the tree and the decorations themselves randomly moving around the set throughout the runtime. This thing's a hot mess continuity-wise, but then I suppose they assumed the only people watching this would be little kids and that no one would really look into this seriously, apart from nerds and shut-ins. Oh. The cine and direction are pretty much in line with what the TV series looked like at the time, not that it really matters because again, they only use one location for the whole special, and because the command centre is only really used a couple of times an episode for a few minutes at a time at most, to spend 20-ish minutes here at times can be painful. I mean, how much variety can you pull out of a single three-wall set that's predominantly scaffolding on a black backdrop? They're incredibly limited at times, and it does come across a little bit like they were just shooting wides and then covering with close-ups to crossfade between. It's hardly the most inspired work I've seen, but I think I know why. And if you're interested in film production, what I'm about to tell you will blow your goddamn mind. This 23-minute special had 4 directors. 4! 4 goddamn directors. 4 of the fuckers. 4 directors. 4! Seriously, I can't quite believe it myself. It took 4 people to make this. 4 people collectively worked to make a 23-minute special shot on one soundstage during the main cast's downtime, where 18 minutes of that is just singing. I've known feature films, epics, have less directors involved. It explains why it all looks so generic and shot for necessity rather than interest. But when I first found out about this, I genuinely couldn't quite believe it. The 4 are Jon Stewart, no not that one, John Blazek, David Blythe and Vicky Broner. All of these people have connections to the Power Rangers, but still, 4 of them! Jesus! Jon Stewart is predominantly a stuntman, having worked on movies like Phantasm 2 and Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Long-time viewers will also be surprised and delighted to learn that he also did the stunts on Armed Response. As a director, he has 7 credits, mainly for TV. His biggest score on this front was probably that he directed 14 episodes of this run of the Mighty Morphing Power Rangers. 15 if you include this Christmas one. John Blazek is mainly an editor with 35 credits under his belt, including 60 episodes of the Mighty Morphing Power Rangers. He has 8 directing credits, including 4 episodes of the Power Rangers and the TV movie Susie Q. Vicky has 4 directing credits, again mainly for TV, including 2 episodes of this run of the Power Rangers and 12 episodes of this show's follow-up series Power Rangers Zeo, but that's about it. And finally we have David Blythe, who's probably the most experienced director in this bunch, with 22 directing credits, mainly for shorts and TV, but here he has at least 4 episodes of the original Power Rangers series under his belt, as well as the movie My Grandpa is a Vampire, which I've never seen before, but I kind of want to watch it now. These guys had a fair bit of experience behind them, but for whatever reason, it's just not visible here. The script, if you can call it that, was written by Cheryl Saban. She has 7 writing credits. This was her first ever properly recognised gig, and I'd say it shows. But the reality is that given what she was no doubt given to work with, i.e. Alpha, 3 Power Rangers, a handful of kids, the HQ set and a handful of Christmas songs, oh yeah, and a load of stock footage, she's probably done the best she could with what was provided. Yes, it's bland, but if this is what you've got to work with, then I guess this is what you've got to work with. It's a bit crappy, but the problem with big franchise-owning corporations is if you're given materials to use, you can either use them or not. You can't just make your own story and overrule them. It's a shame, but this thing could probably be best summed up as, it is what it is. Other than this, her highlights are that she wrote 2 of the Au Pair movies. Get your mind out of the gutter, they're not erotic fantasy movies, like I assumed. They're actually family comedies. And she did some of the scoring for the film Casper Meets Wendy. Seriously, this woman just couldn't get a break. Every film she worked on just turned into a hot mess. Alpha's Magical Christmas was released as a joint venture between Saban Entertainment and Fox Home Video on VHS in North America in mid to late October 1994. It was then released in the UK in November 94, and since then it's never seen the light of day again. Despite the Mighty Morphing Power Rangers having received a full DVD release from Manga Entertainment in 2018, this special is nowhere to be found on that set. Which is a shame, as the series feels somewhat incomplete without it. That's sarcasm. But on a legit note, I imagine die-hard Mighty Morphin fans would have genuinely felt a bit unhappy that this episode wasn't included in the set. At the time of writing in the US, you can pick this tape up for about $5. In the UK, I found one copy that some chancer was trying to sell for £14 plus £3 shipping. That's about $17.50 in total. And to him, I say a polite but very firm, "You're having a laugh, son, on your bike." Alpha's Magical Christmas isn't very good. It's not absolutely awful, but believe me when I tell you it could have been worse. I mean, I'd consider this the A picture to a double feature with We Wish You a Turtles Christmas, which I think says more about Turtles Christmas than this, but you get the idea. For those of you wondering why I keep bringing up Turtles Christmas, well, it's because it kind of has a similar vibe in most regards. That and the Turtles and the Power Rangers share a universe, so believe me when I say that you should count yourself lucky we didn't get We Wish You a Megazord Christmas. But whereas Turtles Christmas bored a hole in my head that I will never, ever forget, I still sing Deck the Halls with Pepperoni to this day, this, well, I think I might actually forget about it in a year or two. It's a slap in the face to Power Rangers fans, and I can only imagine how disappointed a kid must have been to get this on or around Christmas time. But realistically, it's not offensively bad. If I was a parent who'd bought this, I think I'd have probably taken it back to the store, but really all I can say is, if you have a thing for robot-sung Christmas carols and disappointment, go and check this out. It's your kind of special. Otherwise, give this one a hard swerve.